Hey YouTube, welcome back to my channel. This is Canadian Retro. I've got my pickups and experience here from the Waterloo video game swap, which just happened last Sunday, which is yesterday. Just passed now. That was on the 25th of September. Absolutely wonderful show yet again. I was a vendor there and I sold off quite a bit of my doubles and sold off a whole ton of systems, which is really great because I got rid of some of the bulk that I was sort of building up down here as far as consoles taking up space and everything like that. I really felt like I lightened the load on the way back when I was bringing back basically like half a bin of stuff when I took about 3 bins worth of things there. So a lot of that, like I said, was consoles. I was so glad to unload those. I've been trying to sell them locally and people just didn't really seem that interested in them, even though I thought I priced them pretty competitively or even better than decent compared to other people, but they weren't really moving. So I'm really happy I was able to do that, and I was also able to add a few things into my collection. But first I'd like to show you some footage from the floor, but right before that I'd really like to do a huge shout out to Pete and Andrew for setting up yet again like a wonderful show. It's obviously the premier event in Ontario, if not in all of Canada, as far as game swaps go. I know there's like bigger conventions where there's guest speakers, these kind of things, but literally as far as video game swaps go, this is the biggest one, and it's all about trading and selling video games and getting the stuff that you love, and that's what I like about it. But without further ado, here's some footage from the floor. I didn't get a whole lot of footage there. As you can see, I was really kind of I'm not very good at it, when I'm vending and stuff like that. I'm really focused on what I'm doing at my table, and I got a few chances though this time around to go around the vendor floor. When I first walked in there, right across from where I was at was a couple of guys who were selling off some Super Famicom games, so that's what I picked up first. I paid $12 for all of these, and I thought this was a really good deal. Because I ended up picking up, 3 Super Famicom games, but one of the items is actually a storybook thing, and I'm pretty sure I'll never be able to read it, but I just thought it was so cool I couldn't leave it behind. So here's what I picked up for $3 each. One is Romancing Saga, and you can see like they're complete, so that's really nice. I mean, doesn't seem to be like any insert in this one, but it has the cartridge, which looks really great, and it's like another Square RPG kind of thing. And it also has the instruction manual, which is kind of like a fold-out thing, so I imagine there's probably like a map on the other side of it. I haven't like totally checked out all the insides, just it was such a good deal I couldn't really pass it up. Trying to open it here, it's a little bit frail, so let me just check this out here. Oh, it's like all it's got a map and like a whole bunch of other stuff. I don't know if you can totally see all of what's going on there, but really detailed kind of thing going on there. Obviously a lot of that is in Japanese, so I'm not able to read it, but still cool nonetheless. And I'm sure there's probably a translation patch for this one for the Retron 5, so I'm really happy with that. I think I'll fold that up later because I want to be a little more gentle with it. It's sort of kind of delicate and not like in the greatest shape, but still for $3 getting a boxed Super Famicom game. They originally had 10 on it probably back in the day, so I don't know why that was sitting there or whatever, but really cool. And it was sort of in a bin underneath. The next one, and this one's probably in like the better shape of them, is one called, I believe they just call it Slayers. Again, this is a RPG I didn't know anything about. I was just going off the fact that the box is absolutely beautiful and seems like all the contents are in it. I checked out some gameplay kind of thing of it and looks pretty cool. So here we go though. It's got like the plastic kind of insert with it. And you really gotta love like the artwork put into these Super Famicom games. And again, that cartridge is in really great shape. And there's the manual. So, like full color manual. You don't really see that kind of stuff, coming out from companies. And again, this one here, let me see here. I'm trying to remember Band Presto, so I'm not really sure about that. And there isn't a whole lot to go off of on the back, but I figured for $3 I'd take a risk. And I believe again there's a translation patch for this one, so pretty happy to be able to pick that one up for $3. And then the last game one is Dragon Quest V. So that's pretty cool. Again, that's like a pretty interesting RPG, you know, in the vein of, I guess you would say, like Final Fantasy kind of style. Again, I'll find translation patches for that. And the box is in like wonderful shape. This is an Enix game, so really cool. And again, it has like, you know, its insert and stuff like that in it. And the actual game has a baggie on it. So I thought that was a pretty decent deal. I don't really know what these games go for. I didn't really check them out or anything like that. I just thought, you know, Super Famicom boxed games for $3 each, not going to turn those down. The last one, just because it was so unique, again, I'll never be able to figure this one out. It's a sound novel, and I don't know really what the name is of this one or much about it. You can kind of see from the screenshots in the back, though, it basically is like a storybook kind of style to it, I think, and just uses like whatever it can from the Super Famicom's graphics. But I'll show you the inside of this, because the cartridge is really what interests me about this, just because it's so different looking. Let me see here if I can get into this. Here we go. Yeah, so it has, again, the manual, again, full color, but once again, I'll never be able to read that. But this is what the cartridge looks like. It's really cool. It kind of has like a slot in front of it, so I don't know if you could get like other novels or something and put that in there to read it, but I just thought it was so cool. It kind of looks like almost like a Game Boy like player kind of idea for the Super Nintendo. I don't know if I kind of have that, the Super Game Boy. It kind of looks like that. I don't know if it's totally the same thing. I know that those pin connectors would definitely not fit one of those games, but the shell casing kind of seems very similar to that, albeit Super Famicom style, but really neat. I just thought it was such a curious thing, and for $3, why not, especially when it's like boxed and complete and everything like that. Pretty cool score. So I got all those for 12 bucks. I thought that was a pretty killer deal right at the start of the show, because that guy was right across from me. So as soon as the show started, I ran over and picked up those deals. The next things I didn't pay anything for, well, I mean, other than the fact that I traded for them. People came up to my table and they had you know, stuff that they were trying to trade all day long, and I turned down a few trades from people just because the stuff they had I wasn't really interested in. They must have been interested in something at my table, but I wasn't really interested in what they had. It's like I already had it, or it wasn't really valuable or worth anything to me, so I just kind of said no to those deals. But this deal was pretty cool. I'm trying to remember which one was which. I think I got it straight though. I had a while back a Final Fantasy figure which was headless because it did not have a head on it, but its head was there. I just sort of had to glue it back together. It was a figurine. It was pretty cool, but I really don't have space down here in the retro dungeon for figurines. I'm not really a figurine kind of collector. I knew somebody would be interested in it, and I've had it at a number of different shows, and it didn't sell until just now. So it was really cool, and I was happy to do this because honestly, as far as games go or whatever, I'm more interested in collecting games for one, but the other part of it is the games that he showed me I didn't have in my collection already, so really sweet to be able to pick them up, and definitely valued approximately at what I had my figurine valued at, so worked out better for me because I prefer to have the games kind of thing. First one here is The Adventures of Dr. Franken, which does not get a lot of love or anything like that, I think, in the community, but still something I didn't have in my collection, so I figured why not. That was sort of the start of it. Next one is Q*bert 3, which again is just like a Q*bert game, very solid Q*bert kind of game, very nice label on it. I mean, the guy's got these like super clean, so I don't know if he was selling these out of his collection or if he's just sort of like my style where make sure everything's clean before he trades or sells it, but this one's absolutely like beautifully perfect, so pretty happy with that. And then this one here I was after for a very long time, and I've just never really seen a good price on it. I was sort of willing to pay like around the $9-10 kind of range for it in Canadian, and I know it goes probably for a little bit more than that, but it's just sort of my price point on it. I wasn't really willing to pay more than that out there, and when I saw it at vendors tables and things, there's always like 15, 18 kind of thing on it, and I know it definitely does not sell for that, so I've just kind of sort of held off my time, or whatever you like to call it, held my cool on it, been patient about it, and finally got it. And that's Uniracers, which really shows off that the Super Nintendo has a little bit of speed to it, but you know, you're basically just riding around tracks and you're trying to beat the opponent, and you're on the unicycle kind of thing. If you haven't checked it out, it's pretty held in pretty high regard. Not an expensive title, but definitely pretty cool. And I heard that, well, I was doing a little bit more research on this, like, because I've been looking at this for a while now, that there's about 300,000 copies of this game made. So it's not the most common thing, not that 300,000 makes it like a limited run or anything, but still pretty cool to be able to get a hold of that one finally, which is kind of nice. And then the last one from that particular lot is a game that's a like shoot 'em up kind of thing, you know, side-scrolling spaceship shooter sort of idea. Again, it's kind of generic, I think, not really one of the like, oh, that's one of the greatest kind of things, but still I didn't have it in my collection, and that's Earth Defense Force. So again, like really minty shape. I won't have to clean it up too much. There's a little bit of spits here on the bottom of it, but other than that, pretty decent all around. So I was pretty happy with that to trade for that figurine, because honestly, I'm better off with games than I am holding on to things that I don't necessarily need. And then the last item, or items rather, I got here, this was also in a trade. I had a copy of Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3, which is the PAL region version of it. I had about $40 priced on it. I think it goes for around 50 on like eBay online kind of thing. And you know, I had it for I think a couple of different swaps. I'm not totally certain about that necessarily, but I've been looking to get rid of it, and it's kind of a niche market to sell off PAL games, just because, you know, we're in NTSC region, so it's kind of a little bit of a hard sell, I think, at a swap to do this. But I got a couple of good games that, you know, one I wanted for my collection, or the other one will be easy to sell at another swap. And I'm always looking to, you know, basically turn those disc games into cartridge stuff for my collection. So that's basically what I did here, and I was pretty happy with it. The first one I got from the guy for that game was Mario Tennis, which seems to be going up in a little bit of value. And I mean, the label's absolutely beautiful on that. I think this is probably an upgrade for the one I have. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, but I think the one that I have is a little bit messed up in the label, just like a little bit faded or something like that. This one's absolutely pristine, so I'm really happy to get that, because I'll be able to upgrade. And then a game that I've been looking for a while, people have been like sort of massively overpricing it, I think, locally, so I'm really happy to get it for my collection, and that's Yoshi's Story. So pretty happy about that, and I just traded that for you know, that one copy of Dragon Ball Z game kind of thing, and I'm more than happy to be able to do that, just because I had really no use for a PAL region game. I just knew it was valuable, and I was able to trade up basically to get these things, and I pretty much value those about the same, so really happy with that. So I ended up running into a ton of different fellow YouTubers and members of the community. I'm not going to go into like massive lists of people here. You all know who the usual suspects kind of thing are, so I don't really need to get into all the people that I ran into there. But I just want to really thank, you know, Bowser's Fart Sack, which is Chris Beddick. He helped me out a whole ton getting table as usual, and it's always nice to hang out with him and Josh doing the table kind of thing. And just for everybody else that, you know, I ran into there, thank you very much. It was a really great day. I enjoyed myself so much. It kind of really flew by. I didn't feel like things were dragging on too badly. Sometimes when you're vending, it kind of seems like the day goes on, but I was kind of hoping to extend it a little bit longer and spend a little more time there, but wasn't really able to, because we were shutting down, you know, at 5 o'clock. But that was everything. If you ever get the chance to go to the Waterloo Video Game Swap, I highly recommend that you do that. It is a wonderful show, absolutely put on by you know, top-notch kind of organization, really. When it comes to things, Pete and Andrew are doing a great job of keeping things organized and everything running smoothly. So that's everything I got this time around. Thanks again for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Go check out like the Waterloo Video Game Swap. You must do that, absolutely. And I will see you all later.